Hey everyone, welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a health coach and nutritionist, and my channel is all about helping you to create delicious, low FODMAP meals to improve your digestive health. If you're into it, go ahead and subscribe. We put out a new video each week. So now that we're getting back into school, I thought for the next few weeks I would show you some really quick, easy, and even one-pot recipes. So today we are going to be making a pot roast in a slow cooker. I am going to be using the slow cook function on my Instapot, but any slow cooker will do. I love this recipe because it's super easy. It takes about 15 minutes in the morning, and you come home and you have an amazing smelling house, and dinner's ready super quick. The other great thing about this recipe is that it's so simple. There are only a few ingredients. So today we're gonna be using 3 pounds of boneless chuck roast, 1.5 pounds of potatoes, 1 pound of baby carrots. I'm just gonna throw the ones from the bag straight in our pot. 1 stalk of celery, a few chicken stock cubes, Worcestershire sauce, garlic oil, and a little bit of thyme, which really livens up this recipe and just like makes it. You guys know I love using fresh herbs, and especially in a recipe that's so simple like this one, it just helps to bring your dish to a whole nother level. Okay, so let's get started by seasoning our meat. I'm just gonna add a generous amount of salt here to the top. The thicker your piece of meat, the more generous you want to salt it. So that was about 2 teaspoons, and then about a teaspoon of black pepper. Normally, if I wasn't doing this for the camera, I would just turn my Instapot on saute and then throw it right in there to sear this side that I've seasoned while I cut up my potatoes. But for filming purposes, I'm gonna do that after I cut everything up so you guys can see into the Instant Pot and see what's going on. So it is gonna make this recipe seem a little bit longer, but it's actually like, seriously, 15 minutes in the morning. So now I'm just going to quarter these baby gold potatoes. These are my favorite potatoes to use because they have a more buttery texture than regular russet potatoes, and you also don't have to peel them. I mean, I guess you don't technically have to peel russet potatoes either, but most people do. These skins are a lot more tender, I feel. You don't want to cut up your potatoes too small. I've got a chunk like this here because you don't want them to get mushy inside of your pot. If you are using russet potatoes, you're going to have to cut them smaller than just in quarters. But the important part is to make sure that they're all cut about the same size. That way they cook evenly. Okay, now we're going to cut up our celery. The celery in this recipe isn't totally necessary. I just happen to have some in the fridge, so I thought I'd throw it in there. Celery is higher in FODMAPs, but we're using such a small amount for this entire recipe. The low FODMAP serving size of celery is 1/3 of a stalk, and we're using 1 stalk in our whole recipe, which is gonna serve about 6 people, so you're well within your low FODMAP limits. So our Instant Pot has been heating up on saute, and now I'm going to sear our chuck roast. Oh, I forgot to put the oil in there. I can just throw it in. I totally forgot to put the garlic oil in the bottom. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna make it work. The show must go on. So I just added it afterwards and then kind of let it get underneath. I added about 2 tablespoons of garlic oil. Okay, so now we're just gonna let that sear on this side for about 5 minutes. This is when I would normally be cutting up my potatoes and celery and stuff like that. So today I'm gonna be using potatoes and carrots, like I mentioned before. They're both FODMAP free, but another substitution or addition that you could add would be parsnip. I've never worked with parsnips, but I kind of want to this fall, since they are kind of like a fall root vegetable. But they are also FODMAP free, and they are great with carrots. Canned tomatoes are another addition that would be great in this recipe, but I'm not doing that today because I want to keep it more of a clear broth instead of a tomato-based broth. It's getting there. Okay, now we're gonna salt the other side of our meat. I only added 1 teaspoon of salt that time. And about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Okay, now we're gonna flip it. See how it's starting to get some nice color here? Probably doesn't look as pretty because I forgot to put the oil in first. I swear, I don't know what it is, but I just like mess up when I'm cooking on camera. Okay, now that this is nice and browned on the other side, we're gonna add in the rest of our ingredients. I'm gonna put in about 1/2 of our potatoes, our bag of carrots. Okay, now we're gonna be adding our liquid. Okay, so I've added 4 cups of water. I like to add more water to mine because it doubles as like a bone broth. So I can just strain it and drink it too. And it's great for soups. It's really amazing for the digestive system because it's full of collagen, which helps to repair a damaged gut lining. You do want to make sure to add enough chicken stock for each cup of water. So if we were using 3 cups, we would add 3 chicken stock cubes. Since we're using 4 cups, we're gonna add 4 cubes. If you're using the Foddy chicken soup base, then it would be 4 teaspoons. Today I'm using the Massel's 7 chicken stock, but any low Fodmap chicken stock will do. You could use beef stock too. I just always use chicken stock because I feel like it makes things more simple. We're just gonna give that a quick stir to get this chicken stock mixed in there. Next, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of, 1 and a little bit extra tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I haven't found a good low Fodmap Worcestershire sauce. They all the ones that I've seen have garlic and onion powder in it. This one has garlic and onion powder in it, but it's lower down on the list. And it's not fresh garlic and onion, which I feel helps. Okay, lastly, we're just going to add our thyme. I like using thyme in this recipe, but you can use other fresh herbs too if you have like rosemary or parsley or bay leaves. Those would all be really good. Okay, so now we're just going to cover this and slow cook it for 8 hours on the normal setting. I'm a professional now. We've been cooking this in our Instapot on our slow cooker setting for 8 hours on the normal slow cook. You can bump it up to the more setting on slow cook and cook it for 6 hours, but if we're doing this, if we're starting this in the morning and then cooking it for dinner, then 8 hours is gonna be the perfect amount of time. Our potatoes are nice and fork tender. So are our carrots, but they're not falling apart, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. The meat, however, just falling apart. Beautiful. Okay, now let's just plate this up. I want to pull it out in one piece, but it's just so tender. It's like falling apart. Boom. I've been waiting for this all day. I am so excited to taste it. It just melts in your mouth, which is something that can be difficult to achieve with chuck roast. It's a tougher cut of meat and has a lot of connective tissue in there. So that's why it's great for pot roast and for slow and low kind of cooking, which is what the slow cooker does. Ooh, these carrots are like the perfect texture. Soft but not mushy. Let's try one of these potatoes. Same thing, soft but not mushy. So I either like to dish up my pot roast just like this, the meat and the veggies, or I will actually save all of my juice that's left over from the pot roast and I'll throw it in the fridge overnight, just in like this container right here. And then there'll be lots of fat on the top, so then go in with a spoon and scoop off all the fat. And then you have a beautiful bone broth that you can drink, put in soups. I actually like to make a pot roast soup also. I just throw the meat and the potatoes and the carrots in there with a little bit of the broth and then add a little bit of spinach. It's so good. It's the perfect thing for when you're feeling under the weather. One of the other reasons I like to use this broth in my soups and for drinking is because, like I mentioned before, this cut of meat has a lot of connective tissue. And when you're cooking it, you're breaking down that collagen and it's getting into all of the juice. So that collagen, when you drink it, is actually going to help to repair your gut lining. So for people with leaky gut, this is going to help to repair that intestinal permeability. And then for people with ulcers and then things like Crohn's and colitis, it's going to help to repair that ulceration in the intestines. All right, guys, I don't know if this technically counts as a quick recipe because it is a slow cooker and it takes all day, but as you saw, it took only like 10-15 minutes in the very beginning getting this all done. So I love this recipe. I think it is great for busy people, for people who want to eat healthy and don't have a lot of time and effort to put into their meals. So give this recipe a try. You'll love it, I promise. And if you happen to make it, tag me so I can see the results. I love seeing you guys make my recipes. All right, well, I think that's it. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye.